So, at the end of the last episode, I was a little bit overreacting. Luckily, I already have some terrains and I'm actually proud of it. I mean, there is probably a lot of better tables out there, but I'm just so happy I finally managed to finish this project, which gives me possibility to play something at last. And don't be deceived by my poor painting. I used to say I'm not a bad painter because I'm not a painter at all, so it's even worse. Anyways, I made it, got whole graveyard terrain ready, and I even made a campaign on my mini factory with whole set of bits, terrains, buildings, etc. Link below, I will tell you more later. Enough auto-promotion. I was struggling with terrain for a long time. Technically, I can do anything in Blender, like anything, and then print it to make virtual projects real. But in case of terrain, well, I can still do stuff in 3D. There is only a problem with printing it. My Elegoo Mars 3 is pretty small, so I can't make any terrain straight away. Sometimes annoying cutting is required, and gluing. And because of size and weight of certain objects, weird deformation of the gluing edges may appear, so there is usually some work with green stuff needed as well. And it also costs a lot, especially when we are talking about hills, massive rocks, towers or similar stuff. This costs a lot of time and money, so it is not always valuable. And, well, that might be it. That's all. But still, there is a lot of issues with printing terrains, to be honest. Anyways, I made it. I finished to build my first proper wargaming table like few days ago, just in time, I would say. Thing is that this table was intended for Age of Sigmar Warcry or similar small games, so yeah, the table is also small. Surface covered with grass is 30 long and 22 wide. I mean inches, of course. Counting size with non-grassed framing makes playing ground a bit bigger, but still not enough for Trench Crusade, which I really wanted to try. There is 36 by 36 inches minimal recommended size for a table, and in case of mine there is only one edge long enough, like nearly. And I'm talking about smallest table recommended, where any scenario in the rulebook says about 4 feet by 4 feet table size, at least for the sake of the placing objective markers, I think. I mean, I could technically play at such small table, and I will probably do that anyway, because I don't have enough space to make bigger table. I just started to think how expand playing surface without making my table physically bigger. Seems there is some magic required there. Unless I would start to think in 3D. Did you ever heard about vertical wargaming tables? No, not like this. I would rather think about something like, well, that one. Yeah, sounds crazy, right? Not that much, at least for me. If you are playing on the floor, there is no room for making some kind of underground tunnels. You can still increase your space vertically by adding 1 or 2 tall buildings with multiple floors, but you cannot add any tunnels or catacombs or something like that. But I usually place my playing surface on coffee table, so there is some room for adding underground. Just needed to invent a proper method to attach it. Few methods popped in my mind. First, needed a plank or thick cardboard as main surface of an underground floor. That step was simple. I got these two, which I connected with adhesive tape and some additional glue. Second, there was also some kind of attachment needed. That catacombs couldn't float in the air, obviously. And in that case I also had a few ideas, starting with the simplest one, like for example string and twinning this around, and ending with screwing it straight to the main floor, but I wasn't happy about any of it. Some of these ideas was too complicated, some just too simple, so I invented this. Made that tomb or vault or whatever it is, but with rare pillars way longer than whole construction. In that pillars are also made the threaded holes for, well, that's kinda obvious, right? For screws. Main idea was to screw that underground floor to that long pillars and hang whole structure on mentioned tomb or a vault or a something. Of course there were two of that needed to make it stable. So I cut this object and hollowed rare pillars to make them as light as possible. Main weight should be located at the entrance of a tomb as far as possible from table edge, just to hold whole construction better. After that last step, whole project was ready for printing. In that stage I made few crucial mistakes, sadly. First, split walls from entrance. I know, that was not wise at all. I wanted construction to be as stable as possible and generally speaking solid, so yeah, that part should be printed at one piece. There was also issue with screws because holes were a bit too small. Luckily both mistakes was really easy to fix. After that I spotted another issue. The rare pillars were too short. There is not enough space to fit any miniature under the table. But just few clicks and I fixed it as well. Now I can fit under the table small minis on 25mm bases, 32 and even few at 40. One thing before we move on. That big rare pillars are one separated part. It might be better to make this connected with the walls and entrance, but in that case it would be needed to add a lot of supports which could increase overall cost and also size of a project. So I decided to make a prototype with additional holes to make connecting these two crucial parts easier and to make connection stronger. And it is also possible to replace that long rare pillars with standard back wall. You can now switch between catacombs holder and standard crypt. Oh, and I did a removable roof to make moving minis inside anyhow possible. Initially it was just a flat surface, but after printing I decided to add a tile. What is important, this fit on my small Elegoo Mars 3, so that parts will fit at any printer, I think, almost any. Now, needed to make hole in my base floor for screws. And most important, check if holders can hold whole construction. Well, they did. Underground catacombs worked. Just added the stairs which I created long time ago for my graveyard bell tower. In that stage project was kinda ready, so I decided to make it as a part of my upcoming campaign on my mini factory. I included in that set all bits like books, skulls, gravestones, lanterns, ladders, terrains like statues, fences, obstacles, big old tree, and buildings like chapel, crypt, bell tower, which I've made for the last 2 or 3 years. Crypt and chapel are fully openable. Crypt does not have a door, but in the case of a chapel you can also remove entrance and make building open or close. Gate in the fence is also movable. You can open it or close as well. And in case of fences you can print fence parts only or also add special bases to make whole construction more stable. There are also ladders and spider web for bridges to make another vertical level of your table playable. That's a pretty big collection, I think. You can really make a whole table of it. Some of these are old, like obstacles and fences, but most of them I created just a few weeks ago. That crypt for underground tunnel is really fresh product. And I know, some of you probably have some other graveyard sets available in the internet, so I decided to make separate tier only for crypt with underground catacombs, because that one is kinda special, I think. If you already have cemetery stuff, you can just take that one if you want to. And as always, there will be 80% discount for my tribers on my mini factory, but only before campaign launch. So yeah, that's good time if you wanna get that discount. Anyway, let's go back to the project because catacombs are not ready yet. I mean, there was not that much work to do. Just needed to cover underground floor with some stone panels or plates, don't know what is proper word for that. And obstacles, of course, mainly burial tombs and similar stuff. Nothing too heavy to do not make it collapse. Quick and easy work. Now into painting. Primed everything with black and I forget to mention. I added some lanterns with parts of a wall. That's because I absolutely love OSL effect, especially fire imitating OSL. At the darkness. That looks so good, even that made by my clumsy hands. So after priming, I painted that first with red, bright red, orange and yellow. At the second stage, I just needed to paint stone. I have really simple recipe for that one. I covered black primer, not all but most of it, with Mechanicus Standard Grey from Citadel, and after that I painted warp-thin grey on smaller surface to make previous colors stick out from underneath. And after that I just highlighted some edges and stippled a bit on flat surface Administratum Grey, also from Citadel. And that's all.